Hey, what's up, YouTube viewers? Is I Elroy?
And I'm Rob.
Let's tell us.
My favorite manga of all time is Naruto.
Mhm.
It's his too. His is One Piece, but he likes Naruto a lot too. Just having a conversation. We're trying to come up with who we think is the most efficient ninja in Naruto. Not who's the strongest, because Naruto, the way that power works in it, it's not so much like one person can just beat everybody. There's like things that counteract certain things and everything, so it's kind of debatable. So we just had to come up with a criteria for it, and we came up with one, which is the success of a ninja's plans. 2, the power of that ninja's will, and 3, the might of their feats. And in our opinion, those 3 things are the top things that will kind of define what makes you an excellent ninja. So, my personal opinion of who was the best was Hashirama Senju. Yours was
Naruto Uzumaki.
And
Madara Uchiha.
Uchiha, right.
マダラは復讐者となり、この半額で
We can't be swayed. We're not like confined to these people. This is kind of like an off the top thing. So I don't know. I guess we could just go back and forth with each other over who we think really got it and see if we could like come to a unanimous decision. I guess when you look at all 3 parts of this criteria, which is their success, the success of their plans, power of their wills, and the might of their feats, a lot of these things could coincide. But if we are just going to do it on a one-on-one basis, I think it's going to be really hard for might of their feats for anybody to go against Hashirama. If we're talking about one-on-one fights, Naruto, I think is pretty undebatable that he, on his own, even with Kurama, isn't stronger than Madara right now.
Yeah.
And Madara did lose to the first. And I don't believe that Madara has done any training or learned any new moves since he came out of that coffin. So I think we still don't understand how that fight went. We don't know how it ended exactly.
We'll find out.
Right. But from what we do know, I don't think that anyone's physical feats are quite on the level of the first. Even though Naruto and Madara are probably...
I will
right behind.
I will say
right
this.
behind, probably.
During his fight, during Madara's fight with Hashirama, he didn't have access to the Rinnegan. Madara stated that it wasn't until the end of his life when he realized that he could unlock the Rinnegan. So I think that's a huge increase in power.
I think that's an increase too. I also think if we're going to do that, we're gonna need to open up some things that are possibilities then, because we haven't seen the Rinnegan against Hashirama right now. So if we're going to include it as a possible advantage, we need to also include that when Madara fought Hashirama, it was similar to Naruto versus Sasuke, Kakashi versus Zabuza when he was reincarnated, in that it was a one-sided battle in which one person really did have a lot of care for the other, and the other one was being completely ruthless, in which Hashirama still won. And from what we learned with Naruto, it's safe to assume that the ones who kind of want to save the other one, save their soul and their spirit, and want to make them a born-again Christian, they tend to hold back a bit on power. And he still won. So I think that it's assuming that if you hit, even with the advantages of the Rinnegan, and we know what the Rinnegan does, that it probably wouldn't make too substantial of a difference against Hashirama. Especially since a lot of essential stuff. I'm not saying it wouldn't make any difference. I'm saying it won't make a substantial. You think that it's unfair for me to say it doesn't automatically make a substantial.
I'm not saying that him having the Rinnegan is going to have him automatically be more powerful than, or significantly more powerful than Hashirama. What I am saying though is that towards the end of his life, he did unlock that, and who's to say that he's not on par with Hashirama when Hashirama went.
But I'm not dismissing that. I get that. All that I'm saying is, I'm not saying the Rinnegan does nothing. I'm saying we know what the Rinnegan does, though. And if Hashirama held back against Madara and still beat him, then if we're going to count Rinnegan as giving Madara a bit more power, then let's also try to, because that's a prospect. That's not something we know for a fact, that's going to be enough for him to beat Hashirama, or he'd be on the same level. But if we're going to do that, then we also need to be fair and give Hashirama credit for the prospect, the possibility that he didn't give Madara his all, because that was his friend and he wanted to save him. And as we know, Madara did survive. And Hashirama said he didn't want to kill him. Again, I said we didn't finish yet, but we can assume that Hashirama let Madara go. And Madara even said when he told Sasuke the story, when Obito told Sasuke the story, which we assume is everything Madara told him. Like, Madara constantly looked up to Hashirama. He admired him for everything that he defined as a ninja. He said even though he hated him, he respected him. And half the reason he hated him was because he was always a step ahead of him in everything. Even in the flashback we have right now with the stones, when you look at the respect he got from people, his own people. And this is starting to tie into other aspects of what we have under this criteria. But I just think that Hashirama's thing is probably, I think it's one of those things in Naruto where the will of fire, as they call it, is something that when you truly understand it and when you push yourself, it's something that gives you an advantage over any darkness. As cliche as it may sound. Not that Madara can't be powerful, but it's just, we know what the Rinnegan does from all the Nagato and the Obito and the Toby, fucking Obito, and Pain and Yahiko and everything. We know what the Rinnegan does. And the abilities of that, I don't see what that would do against Mokutan. Personally, because the way that Kishimoto does it, shit could come out of anywhere. Like for all I know, the Rinnegan is made out of anti-wood, so that could be enough to completely stop Hashirama. I don't know, but let Naruto. Let Naruto come in.
Well, for the man of the feats, well, I mean, both their feats is kind of at the moment is higher than Naruto's, but you still can.
Yeah. Good. Continue.
He's such an asshole.
What?
At the moment, like his resume is not touching theirs yet.
His resume, it's my resume. It's like
it's not touching theirs at the moment, but
bomb against pepper spray.
He is very corny. But let's continue.
Okay, so
and you know what? Those mentioned feats aren't all like just how strong you are.
Yeah.
The feats is just stuff that you've accomplished. And in Naruto, the stuff that he's accomplished morally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every villain in the show that he fights kind of becomes good. Everything that Gaara represents as a result of Naruto.
Yeah, like they're like all the darkness, he purifies their hearts. For some reason, like Nagato, Gaara.
But I think maybe he can save Sasuke. Just as when he pulled me out of the darkness.
Who else?
Yeah, you said Nagato?
Yeah.
Nagato, Gaara,
There's a list going on, but I just can't think off the top of my head.
You know what it is? Kakashi. He inspires everybody. Not everybody who's evil turns good, but he inspires everybody. I think Naruto's the only person to ever make Itachi smile. It's fun. Yeah. Even when Itachi, like everybody knew Itachi was good, he still made this face all the time. Like, I'm so glad my brother has you. Even Kabuto. Like when Kabuto first got some of Orochimaru with him, if you recall, he thanked Naruto. You know, for like giving him the heart that he needed, I guess, to put Orochimaru's DNA inside his butt. He's like Naruto has a huge, I think that's half of the point of his character.
He's very persuasive. He impacts everybody's life in any way.
Right. So I guess for feats, if you don't necessarily make it physical, even though his physical stuff is amazing right now with Kurama, because I mean, there's really nobody in the show who can really touch him. When you look at the fact that he's at the bottom right now, so we're comparing him to the two biggest titans that have been in the history of the series. But if his physical feats can't compare, then I'd say probably the acts of his
moral feats.
Right.
As far as the power of will,
hey, what's up? Yeah.
When you have a belief, and you believe so much in that ideal that you would die for it, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to come to that sort of point in your life. And Madara was always about. I'm sorry, from the jump, Madara was always about it, period. He focused so much on his beliefs that he sacrificed his own brother. He sacrificed his own brother. I believe he sacrificed his sanity also because according to the Uchiha curse or whatever it is, they love something or obsess over something so much that they end up hating the very thing or hating whatever it is that's against that very thing or against them. And that's what drives him to achieve all this power or whatever it is. But that takes a lot. So he's lost his family because of him. Lost his own insanity. Lost his own sanity because of him. You know, because of his belief. And then on top of that, just he peaked out. He went way past his prime. He's past his expiration date by the time that Obito stumbled upon him.
Yeah.
He was living through a fucking tree. Living through a fucking tree. So he could find something, or he's willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to do that.
And you know, I might end up swayed with this remark, actually. Or with this thought. I'm like between two characters right now, between his and mine. Do you honestly think Madara has a stronger will than Naruto or Hashirama? I think it's easier to debate it with Hashirama, perhaps, but even with that, I think all three of them have an amazing willpower.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it. For this particular aspect, I don't know who could beat Naruto.
Talking about will, right?
Right. Specifically,
he make Kurama.
Because I don't think Naruto wavers.
Will.
I think that's like the most amazing things about him. I don't think he ever wavers. I think he's stuck kind of from the beginning.
Okay, here's what I think. I feel as though because it's not only because it's a TV show, but Naruto. Sorry, the show of Naruto is about good and evil, the struggle between good and evil. But a lot of times they're always gonna not they're always, but a lot of times they show, you know, you're always brought up to know that, you know, you should always do the right thing. And so because of that, they always put Naruto in this light where he's fighting super hard against evil. But then again, if you think about it, not everything that you consider evil is technically evil. Of course, yeah, in this situation, it is evil. What Madara is trying to do. But in the sense, it's all about perspective. And so, in the same sense that Naruto's fighting so hard to stop Madara, it's in this. I feel like Madara's fighting so hard for his own ideals. And I don't think it's. I'd like to like point that out because I think that a lot of times that goes overlooked because of how the show is stressed, because of how the show stresses that this needs to be stopped because it's wrong, because they don't see it in the way that he sees it. Because essentially what Madara is saying, he wants to create world peace, but just his form of world peace is an oppression.
Well, I don't know. I think I have to disagree. I see what you're saying. I could agree with that in a lot of other shows. Maybe One Piece, but I don't watch One Piece. I don't like it. But no, but I can't. I think it's an intelligible point, but I don't think so for Naruto. Because I don't think I think one thing that I've always respected about it as a series is I think it avoids that stereotype. Because I don't think Naruto's ever expressed, especially since the end of Part 1, that Naruto's side is the only side that could possibly make sense because he's the good guy. I think Naruto is a huge thing of perspective. From the moment that Sasuke left the village near the end of Part 1, we were in a battle of what's a lonelier feeling. Even before that, like in fighting Gaara. When you're in a position of solitude, when you try to give love and it's never responded, are you wrong for feeling that you're somebody who can't receive love? And if everybody treats you with hatred, if you give that back, are you truly wrong for that? And it's brought up in a very philosophical sense, in a way where you could sympathize with these characters, you know? And then when Sasuke leaves, again with him. It's like at first Sasuke wasn't evil, if you recall, even when he was training with Orochimaru in that one episode in chapter.
When he didn't kill the Abo members?
He killed like a whole village of soldiers, didn't kill a single person. It was just a thing of perspective. He's not evil, but this is his justice. Justice for his fallen comrades. Then you get the story of Itachi, not truly evil, but had to commit an act of evil for the sake of protection. Then you have Danzo. He's the good of the Leaf Village, but the one that operates from the shadow. So he needs to operate in a more controversial manner. Then you have Pain, who wants to be God for good, but he justifies things that are traditionally evil. Okay, yeah, I see it, like 10 minutes. In a way where, you can tell it was really evil now. Then you get the Obito story. You find out he's Toby, and then you find out that the whole thing, and this is Madara's too, with this whole Moon's Eye plan, is to receive a sense of justice. So I don't think it's the thing of like it's being slept on because it's Madara and he's the villain, and so Naruto's what needs to be respected. If anything, Naruto has a much harder time than like Goku or another traditional anime hero who's just like, you're wrong, you must be stopped. Naruto has to go through these actual philosophical arguments with these people and truly convince them that Naruto's form of justice may be the more justified one. And through that, I think it's harder to debate.
Okay, well, I'd like to say this then. In response then, what it is that Naruto's a child. Naruto's growing up, going through all these philosophical, ideals and sifting through them to try to find himself. In that same sense, Madara was also once a child, and Madara also had to go through those sorts of philosophical ideals to find himself. So I don't think it's fair to say that Naruto has it harder because he's trying to find himself or because he's trying to sift through all that shit and to find what's right. When Madara had to do the same thing and just finish.
I think you're reaching because I think what's constantly stressed is Naruto at 17 is wiser about the world than most of these adults. Most people he's reached are adults. Yeah. I mean, kids have learned from him, but everybody in the show who's ever made a big deal that Naruto's taught a lesson to, he's like a child wise beyond his years. It's like, if anything, they have people like Pain say, you're just a child. Actually, he's literally said that.
Yeah,
you're just a child. You
want to put it here?
Keep on it. Okay, yeah, go ahead. You're just a child. You don't understand the world. You've never been through things. You've never been through this. Yeah. And then Naruto traditionally, he'll punch them in the face really hard and say, stop. That's bullshit. It has nothing to do with being a kid. It has nothing to do with your age, nothing to do with childhood. Right. You're just selfish. Then the characters go, oh, and they realize something, and it'll be expressed in a way that's deeper than that. But I mean, even with Goku, or even with Luffy, I know this, even though I'm not a One Piece fan, but it's like these characters are supposed to be in a way where their simplicity has a depth behind them. Like, they're not simple like children. So it's like, yeah, Madara, if we're talking literal years, sure, he's probably seen, he's seen a lot. But I don't think that it's fair to hold it, again, as he's aged and Naruto hasn't. So because of that literal age, the experience that he's gotten because of his extra years on Naruto, gives him an advantage over Naruto as far as his awareness of things. So Naruto is coming from a naive perspective.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to point out that Naruto's coming from a naive perspective. What I am trying to say is that Madara had enough time to find himself or to cement himself in what his true ideal is, and not be swayed by other people's thoughts. And Naruto is still the type to Naruto is still going through that transition and sifting through that, and I guess adjusting himself and adjusting his ideals.
But that's what I'm saying. He's not.
Yeah.
Naruto's ideals have been the same since he started in the show.
Yeah.
And that hasn't really changed. If anything, they've evolved along the same path. Naruto's been the same character from the beginning. He's always from the beginning, I never break a promise. We just played Ninja Storm 3. We just completed it. How often has that been what he says? Just to show, like, for such simple things. Yeah. He's sticking on it because he doesn't want to break a promise.
Yeah.
And he's been that since 12 years old. He's 16, 17 at this point. That's never changed. And Naruto is who he'll be for the rest of his life at this point. Kakashi said that. Minato and Kushina have said that from seeing what he's done from the inside of him.
Yahiko.
Even Obito. Yeah. And one thing that kind of Madara has as a disadvantage is, because like when you say you're not saying he's naive, you're not literally saying that. But when you point out that Madara's had time to be cemented into who he is and Naruto's still figuring out, it suggests that there's a level of naivety because of age. Not as in stupidity, or not as in because he's dumb, but as in he hasn't attained who he is yet because he's still growing into himself.
But I don't like to use the word naive.
Okay, so we won't say naive.
To be naive is to be, like, it's to know and not want to know, I guess. Or to know, it's to know and not accept.
No, literally to be naive is to have a view on something that could be conceived as premature because it hasn't had the experience of a moment.
Yeah.
That's literally naive. Because I remember Batman saying that to Superman. That's like literally the definition. So, like, but even if we don't use the word, because you feel like the word suggests something else, okay, fine. But it's like still, we're still using the definition of it anyway. So, like, by that, it's like it has nothing to do with Naruto's age. Naruto's never going to be 32 in this manga. We're never going to get to the point where he gets like a 5 o'clock shadow, because it has nothing to do with who he is as a person. Sure, especially since it's in the end, this is who he is. This is just definitively his character. And half of the big deal about it is that, like, Kakashi, all the time, even when he found out it was over, he looks at Naruto and says, wow, you've grown up into an amazing man. You are an inspiration to all of us. When he's in a village, he's getting thrown up by everybody, and Ruka looks at him and says, wow, this is what you've grown into. You are amazing. You are our hero. Okay. So it's like, this is what he is. Right. You know, and it's like, and one of the big disadvantage to Madara that kind of, I think, redirects your point in putting it in Naruto that reflects it toward him, which sucks. Because it's and this is very recent and it's very unfortunate because I feel like it can kind of harm the character, is the fact that now we know that Uchiha biologically can't take pain. And how he is, it's probably as a direct result of that. Yeah. You know, like, so it's like, if anything, his ideals are being affected by loss and are coming from a completely logical place, just like Sasuke.
Leave a comment. You can even let us know which ninja that you believe can fit the criteria. And, well, yeah, ask questions, subscribe.
Yo, he's so black you can't see his eyes.